I'm going to reintroduce everyone again, even though this is happening live, because I want to use the soundbite for my podcast. So give me just 30 seconds while I introduce this, okay? And then we go into the topic. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smart Film Income Podcast, episode 6. And today, things are a little bit different than they normally are. Normally, when I interview someone on the Smart Film Income Podcast, I just use Skype. I record that, and then I upload the sound file. But to make it a little more challenging, and certainly technical challenging for us, it took us a couple of minutes and a couple of tries to get here. I have used Blab. What is Blab? It is called blab.im, Blab. And the whole idea is you're blabbing. What's amazing about this, it's part Skype, it's part social media, it's part Google Hangout, and it's part message board. And the whole idea is if it works today and I can figure out how to make a podcast out of this to upload it to your SoundCloud or to iTunes, then I will use this system from now on. If it works, it means that everybody can join me live. So instead of having a two-way conversation with the people I speak to normally, other people can join in, and that's the whole idea. And this is what I'm very excited about. Plus, it's very visual. This podcast, this episode will go up. It can be replayed on Blab and can also go on YouTube so people can watch it afterwards. But right now, I am joined by two Jasons. So that's a little bit confusing for everyone. We have in the top right corner, we have Jason Liney, and in the bottom corner, we have Jason Van Genderen. And if you're listening to this, you can't see it, but we're actually all on video, and we're all going to talk today. So the episode today is crowdfunding, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's get started. Both of you are avid crowdfunders, and what do I mean by that? You have both joined several campaigns, and you've gotten some great things out of it, but both of you have also spent some money that you wish you hadn't, so you both have stories around that. If I can start with you, Jason Van Genderen.
First time you have to say the full name. I love it.
It's not the easiest name, but I think I'm getting it right. Please correct me if I'm saying it wrong. So, Jason, you're a filmmaker, first and foremost, and tell a little bit about the background. You have done several short films. You ended up winning Truckfest a couple of years ago.
Yeah, so I actually call myself a film breaker. And for those of you with video in the background, might see a little background that says film breaker behind me here. My career is sort of steeped in the advertising and marketing world many moons ago. And in 2008, I picked up my first smartphone camera and tried to make a film with that, which then went on and won a few film festivals such as Truckfest in New York. And most recently, we won Sundance London in 2013 with another documentary shot on mobile phones. Since then, obviously, other things have conspired, and I've fallen in love with crowdfunding, become a very avid crowdfunder. To date, I think I've backed about 123 projects, mainly design and technology.
That's a lot. I mean, that's definitely above average. A lot of people don't even know what crowdfunding is, and you've already supported them.
It is slightly obsessive. I feel like I'm sort of an invention gambler at the moment. Closing. The other thing, I have the Film Academy. That's me.
Let's talk about that. Let's go a little bit back. So you are a film breaker, which means that you are trying things a little bit unconventionally. And I know that because you're shooting things on your mobile phone, which is amazing. And now you're freezing up. I hope I haven't lost you. If you can still hear me, nod or say something. The question is, Jason, to you, Jason Van Genderen, why have you supported so many crowdfunding campaigns?
I think he's gone, mate. I don't see his...
Okay, well, we can't see him anymore. Maybe he'll jump back in, I hope. Otherwise, we still have the other Jason Liney. Jason, how many campaigns have you supported?
Let's see. I think I've supported 6 or 7 campaigns in my life. So,
why do you like crowdfunding? Or why do you like to give money? Why do you like to give money to someone you don't know?
I think I'd like to give people opportunities to prove that they can go out and actually do something well. Also, sometimes it's very convincing, some of these crowdfunding things. And the other thing is, it's very easy to part with cash. It's like, let's say you got a credit card, right? Most people.
That's how it works, yes.
And, with your credit card, let's say you go to a McDonald's, it asks you for $10, you slap it down, and then you walk away, and next thing you know, you're being served with food. So
it's McDonald's because they have a dollar menu, so things are quite cheap at McDonald's, and we all know that it's not the healthiest thing. And I'm not trying to.
Van Gendron back. Do you want to continue on that conversation?
That's okay. We're talking with Jason Lanning now. So you have done. Sorry, Jason, because you dropped. That's two Jasons. Very confusing. Sorry, Jason Van Gendron. You dropped out. Now you're back on. But now I'm speaking with Jason Lanning. We just start talking about you supported 6 or 7 films, and you say it's easy because once you've given them your credit card, it's so easy to jump onto something. What are the low amounts you've given money for? What are the average amounts, and what are some of the highest amounts you've given away?
I think the lowest amount I probably pledged on projects is around $5 or $10 if it's something I just wanted to have a voice in or something.
Okay.
The average amount I pledge would probably be, because it's design mainly design and technology, so those two categories. The tech stuff is really expensive, so I have to say the average pledge is probably around $100 plus.
$100 is on average you've given to a crowdfunding campaign.
That's probably the average for most of them, yeah. And then
say hi to Creatives Link and to Funky Cerebral. Thank you so much for joining us in this call. We're talking about crowdfunding, the good, the bad, and the ugly about crowdfunding, and we're all going to wave to you. So continue, Jason Van Gendron. So the average you give into a crowdfunding campaign is about $100. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and then I guess the upper end would be my my $6,500 contribution last year, which almost ended my new marriage.
So let's talk about it. You gave $6,500. What to a crowdfunding campaign? What was you going to get for $6,500?
Yeah, well, are we allowed to mention campaigns, or is it we're keeping it generic?
I think we can mention absolutely campaigns. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so the campaign that I was backing was for the new ModBook Pro X, which was a tablet-style version of a MacBook. And looked fantastic, absolutely won me over. Great looking Mac, but in a tablet with a stylus. And look, I was hooked. I was in the market for a new computer within the coming months, and so I decided to back it. And it is now, they were meant to deliver in January this year. We're now pretty much coming up to good parts of 10 months since that's gone over. And, left high and dry. No refund, no recourse for a refund, no viable communication with the project creator. Look, that's just the sad side of what this is.
When you say MacBook, was it something that Apple was doing, or was it someone else who was modifying an Apple product?
Yeah, it was a third-party company, so a company called ModBook Inc., and they had a history of modifying Macs into tablets since I think 2012 or 11, and they seem to have quite a good history of doing this. And it looked like a fantastic product. Sounds like a gadget geek's heaven.
And so, what have you done since to try and get your product? You have written to them. You can't call them, of course, or have you tried to call them?
I haven't tried phoning. I have messaged them obviously via the project page numerous times, both privately and via the project wall where everyone chips in and starts contributing conversations.
Okay.
I've also emailed them independently. I did have some dialogue initially with the project creator who seemed to listen initially, but then became very defensive as soon as I replied with another email. And since then, it's just basically the company's heckles have gone up. They're not responding to any comments on their comments page from anyone that's inquiring about the product. So it's really a bit of potluck trying to get hold of them and trying to get some kind of a comment. I think they feel they're a little bit holier than thou, and they don't really need to stay connected with their pledge base. Would you say?
So Funky Cerebral is asking, first of all, Creative Link says, ouch, bomb on that backing loss. Yes, $6,000 is a lot of money, even $6,500. Funky Cerebral is saying, aren't there legal limitations on amounts investors now on these platforms? Under 100K is like 2K. Well, there's two couple of things, and it's a little bit confusing about crowdfunding. So there's crowdfunding, transactional donation, pledging, where you pre-buy something like Jason has done in this case. And then there's equity crowdfunding, where you invest and you become a shareholder and you own a piece of the company. And what Jason was giving money to was for a product that was to be delivered later on, and he hasn't gotten that product. He's not a shareholder. He doesn't invest. He just simply pre-buys. The question is, what happens if you pre-buy something and it doesn't get delivered? That's the question. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about the good, the bad, and the ugly of crowdfunding. So let me jump to the other Jason, because we have two Jasons on this call. So Jason, what's the highest you have given to a crowdfunding campaign?
Well, that one would be Star Citizen. I've given $5,000 US, not all at once, right? I started off with a very small pledge, $35 US. At that time, which was 2012, 2013, the Australian dollar and the US dollar was, very similar. Yeah. It didn't cost as much now. Let's say you buy $1,000 or something, right? US, it'll cost you $1,500 Australian, which is shocking. I'm sure you guys feel the pain sometimes, Yeah. But anyway, back to the crowdfunding thing. So, spaceships and Star Citizen, you can upgrade your pledge packages, really with when they transition to their website based thing, not after they got the funded $6 million in Kickstarter.
Yeah, they raised $6 million in Kickstarter, and right now they're up to $94 million. It is insane how much money they have scooped up. And the problem is the game is not out yet. The game was supposed to go out live a year ago, and then there was a year before that, and they're still not out. Is there a date yet when the game will go live?
Well, they issue out dates, but there's always production setbacks. But they're always bringing out new and fresh content.
And bringing out fresh content. New and fresh spaceships you can buy, you can play in the game, and that's where you spend $5,000. You have bought virtual spaceships you can use in the game, but the game is not live yet, so all you can use them in your hangar, right? You have your own personal private hangar or something like that, but you can't fly out of the hangar. So it's a game that is 1% fulfilling right now, and that's what everybody's feeling. So is this right? Is this wrong? Should it be like that? What do you think, Creative Link and Funky Cerebral? Do you think this is fair that there's this open-ended date, there's this open-ended time where people just can take your money and there's nothing much you can do? What do other people do in the space game? Have people complained, or have people asked for their money back?
People asking for refunds. That's what I've been seeing on the internet, right? Me personally, with the content that they're producing, they have viable excuses, right?
Such as?
That with their weekly content. They say, here's one example. They had something called Star Marine, which was one of these modules to showcase Star Citizen, right? It's not the full product. It's just in alpha stage, right?
Yeah.
And with that in mind, they promised, okay, guys, in March, sometime last year, not March, December, sorry, we'll have the, Star Marine out for everyone. So PAX Australia came along last year, which I attended, and they had $60-odd million funded at that time. And so a lot of people were disappointed by the fact that they didn't get Star Marine, feverishly waiting upon the next updates on Star Citizen. So, there are some people that are really concerned about, oh my God, I've spent 15, 20 grand on something like this.
On a computer that doesn't work yet.
Yeah, but it's kind of like buyer beware. My father has a saying, like some Romans kind of say, what's that word? Buyer beware.
Buyer beware, absolutely, buyer beware. Jason?
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point, Jason. And I had someone make a very similar comment on a social post I put up last week. But I think that everyone is buyer beware. I think that the strange thing is people have this sense of, or people that don't crowdfund hear these stories and then say, well, you shouldn't crowdfund something that you're not prepared to risk and lose. And I don't think that's 100% right. I think just because you're prepared to pre-purchase something shouldn't mean that you should be left without any kind of consumer rights. That to me doesn't seem right. No other industry follows that trend. I don't understand why crowdfunding should not have some kind of consumer rights or some kind of legislation or some kind of insurance that's there to help back up people that do need to pull their money out because they can't wait any longer for the product or that aren't happy waiting any longer. We really shouldn't need to, I guess, by funding a project should not be an open invitation for a project creator to utilize your resources and your money for an indefinite space of time for when they
absolutely. It's an asset you're putting into it, right? It's an asset, like if it's a movie, a game, it's an asset, I think, Thomas May, you're talking to some lawyers in one of your podcasts, right? Yeah. And they were from the US and they were talking about things like chain of title, all these sort of responsibilities that, intellectual properties, actually, that filmmakers. So, Jason, I think with your documentary, this is so important to hit home, I think. Yeah, Kickstarter, right?
I think it is. I think it is important that there is some sort of legislation. The problem is that we're now cross-border, we're now multinational, right? We're sitting here, we're speaking, I don't know where Creative's link, and I don't know where Funky Cerebral is from, but they could be from anywhere. Well, Austin, Texas, there you go. Well, Austin, Texas. So we are now living in a world where the world is flat, right? Arizona, US, welcome. Funky Cerebral. So we're now, and Jason, you are in Sydney, I'm in Brisbane, and Jason, you are somewhere on the central coast of New South Wales, right? So we're all over the world. And that's the thing with crowdfunding. Crowdfunding, traditionally speaking, was invented by the Catholic Church, as I always say jokingly, right? They've had 2,000 years to crowdfund. All the churches you see were built by people's donations. And back then, you did a hat go around and people could donate. Let's build a new church. Let's get a new priest in. Let's build a new pipe organ or whatever it was. So the money was funded locally. But now we have the internet, so we can reach everyone online, which we're doing right now. And you also have credit cards, which means the hat can be anywhere in the whole world. And so that's the opportunity. But the challenge and the danger, of course, is also then that you go and fund something, you don't know them personally, and you have no idea if you're going to get your money back. So, Jason Van Genderen, you are making a documentary on this. Can you tell me a little more about this?
Yeah, sure. And thanks, Jace, for introducing it before. So, I'm an avid crowdfunder, as you know, but I felt it compelled to make a story, a documentary about what happens when things go wrong, what happens when a project stalls, and what rights do us backers have in retrieving either funds or product or anything basically from what we've actually pledged for. So the project the documentary I'm starting, a little postcard here I can flash up on the screen for those of the video, is called Kickstarter, which is, of course, a little bit of a play on Kickstarter. And we recently, as of a week ago, started a campaign page on Kickstarter, which is fantastic to see that they were, they embraced the idea of the film enough to give it a home on their platform. So I take my hat off to that, because it is a film or a documentary that also does critique the platform, critiques the industry, sees the good, the bad, as per the title of this webcast as well, and the ugly. And what we're trying to do in that feature-length documentary, which we're trying to crowdfund, is find answers for people, not just answers here in Australia, but answers in the States, answers in the UK, answers all around the world. Let's look at a slice of this picture that we call crowdfunding. What does it represent? How are people using it? How are people misusing it? And what can we do together as a movement, as a community, to help strengthen the validity of the platform? That's it's on scale to be worth $34.4 billion this year. It's going to overtake venture capital as a primary investment source. It's exploding.
That is insane. That is truly insane. Wow. So Creative's Link and Funky Cerebral, you guys have not crowdfunded anything, but you said Creative's Link that you haven't done it personally, but one of your clients have. Do you know what they've given money to and how much money they have? And here comes the last quick piece of that question. Did they get what they paid for? I personally have been involved with 21 crowdfunding campaigns. I've helped launch 21 crowdfunding campaigns, and I'm helping Jason with his, I guess that's crowdfunding campaign number 22. And I'm mostly working with filmmakers, and from their side, people who are trying to get money, for them, it's a matter of trying to get some money so they can make their films. And it's hard to find funding like for everything else in the world, and particularly for films. And some of them I know are delayed because, shooting takes longer. They have to rewrite the script. And one thing I tell them is that they have to be absolutely open, honest, and frank, transparent about what's going on. And if it's delayed, you should often say, hey, we understand that this is a problem for you. If we are delayed, then you can ask for your money back, and we can refund that, because if they want to get their $50 back or the $100 back or maybe $200, I think it's more fair that people can have the opportunity to get their money back. So, Jason again, but you had a document earlier where you also did not on what you wanted to do. So now, if you can play the other side of the coin.
Sorry, your audio scrambled for me there just for a second. Can you just repeat that question for me?
Okay, so the question, because you mentioned to me the other day that you've done a crowdfunding campaign earlier that you have not delivered on yourself. So you've tried to do the other side as well.
Yes, bit of an amnesty there. This is going to come into my documentary. You've just given away one of my major plot lines, Thomas.
Sorry.
Look, this is the honesty of the transparency of the medium. Look, many moons ago, I ran a very small, modest campaign on Indiegogo to help get myself and two other filmmakers over to the States for a film festival where one of our films was screening. And we were trying to do the honourable thing and make another film for charity while we're there. And we shot the film with all good intentions. We actually handed them a check for some money as well while we were there. We never got to finish making the film. Never got to complete the process of what we stepped out to do. So I am also approaching this story with the hat of being a project creator that's actually been through the realms and has a bit of an amnesty to declare in respect to the fact that I've got some dirty laundry in this space that I need to clean up as well. So I think that's a good, honest position to come from. I've sort of lived this from all sides, from project creator to backer to now documentary filmmaker, sort of introspectively looking at this problem. So it sounds like I'm tripolar. I could probably do 3 interviews with myself here.
So this, I want to take a little more into this thing, because let's just talk about this. So how much money did you raise in this way, and what did you promise to deliver?
Are you getting that feedback, guys? It sounds so weird.
Jason, can you turn down your speakers, or maybe put on some headsets, something like that? I think there's a lot of feedback in the room.
Feedback from which Jason was that?
Jason Van Genderen.
Okay, I'm turning mine down. Can you still hear me fine now?
Okay, yeah, that's right. So, did you hear my question?
Sorry, your question was how much did we raise and...
How many people supported it, and what were you supposed to give them? What are you missing to give?
We only had a small group of people. We probably had about 30 people from memory that were supporting the campaign. I haven't actually looked at it for years, Thomas. I've got to go forensically dive back into the pages. But roughly about 30 people that supported the campaign. And for some of those pledges, what we offered, we did. Look, it wasn't like we ignored our duty of care in delivering the pledges. We actually did do a large portion of what we said we would do, which was keeping people connected via video updates every day from where we were and what we're doing. One of the things we neglected to do, I think, was we had great intentions of sending sort of back catalogues of our films through on USBs afterwards and whatnot, and that kind of never transpired. We got caught up in the project of getting over there, filming this charity film, and then we sort of got lost after that. It was a modest amount of money, by the way. It was only, we were after, I think it was about $3,000 to help offset 50% of the price of each of our airfares to get over there. And then we ended up going $1,400 over that target. So that $1,400 we ended up taking over as a check and delivering to the charity that we did a story on. And we that check. So we did do some good. There was, it was just me inside. Now that I'm making this story, I feel it's a moment I've got to come clean on that too, and I've got to actually deliver on that pledge. Be it a couple of years later.
It's very hard to point fingers because fingers are pointing back to yourself, right? You have to come clean on that. So that's really good. Jason Liney, I know you supported a crowdfunding campaign for some K-pop, so Korean pop music, because you're half Korean, half Australian. and apparently you gave some money towards making some music, and I can see here the creators link is talking about music. So the idea was that you gave some money and you get up there and you would have a song produced by a Korean producer. Can you explain what went right and what went wrong?
Okay, well, the guy involved has huge social media presence.
You need to turn off your microphone. We can barely hear you now, Jason. Sorry.
Can you hear me? Mic check 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me?
It's very low. Maybe you should take your headset off. I'm sorry.
Is that a bit better?
Listening, yeah, it's better. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, K-pop. All right. Jeez. My God. There's a lot of stuffing around. Let me just put it that way.
You supported that crowdfunding campaign where you donated some several $1,000s to go up to Korea.
Initially, first up, $2,000, right?
Yeah.
And that's not including traveling and other things. You know, like when you believe in something, you tend to put more money towards something, right? Okay, this fellow, huge social media presence, right? He did tons of K-pop remixes. You can find him under Area Creations, right? So I find out it's a Greek guy that's been remixing all of these sort of things in Seoul, South Korea, right? So, hey, I'm not racist. I don't discriminate, right? We live in a multicultural society, right?
I'm Korean,
by the way. I also have Greek cousins, so I'm pretty understanding of people's cultural differences. So anyway, I'm like, I believe in this dude, you know. I think, I'll back this guy. One of the things was like, we'll make a song, and that was about $1,000. Another one was a co-producing something like that. I have to go back to the web, you know, the Kickstarter or whatever the Indiegogo. That's right, Indiegogo, and $1,000 for that, some co-production stuff, and you know, being credited as a producer for some of the remixes, you know. So, which I haven't been credited to. You know, my name didn't even make it in any of these things, which is really strange, considering I spent a year or two talking with this guy, you know, on Skype, and sometimes not just once a week, but every day. So I got to know the operation of his business in some respects. And because of that, I was prepared to give him more leeway, right, on delivering. I was like, yeah, I understand being creative is emotionally taxing. But yeah, anyway, let me talk about when I went to Korea to try to fulfill one of my perks.
The aim was to have a song produced, right? That you did, that he was going to produce for you, right?
Sorry?
The aim of the trip was to go to Korea and have one of your songs produced by him or remixed by him, correct?
Yeah, I thought it was great because me with a filmmaking background, that would be a really good win-win situation. You know, if you've got a filmmaking background and you got a pretty good audience, that stands for grounds for something beautiful to be made. You know, that's worth the risk of spending X amount of dollars. You know, I'm sure.
What happened when you got to Seoul? What happened? Sorry.
This is the sort of things, you know, you go, an audience. I need an audience. You know, I need something credible to give me something that would help put my name out in the spotlight. Help my employment opportunities. You know, all of these sort of important things.
Absolutely. And so what happened when you went to Seoul?
Well, I got to Seoul. We messaged each other on Facebook to meet up. And so we met up at a cafe, you know. We didn't meet on a business premises, right? So anyway, we talked about things, and I explained to him, look, before I did this crowdfunding campaign, I was at film school. And with my sort of film production experience, why don't we work together on something even though I put $1,000 in for being a singer, I'd like to contribute at a production level. And maybe I can even get some loans from the banks in Australia to do a decent production. I was willing to get a loan for 30 grand,
Okay.
These sort of risky sort of things. This is the thing that goes in the minds of people that back businesses, they might want to contribute more money down the road.
Yeah. And
so anyway, after that, got over to his place, got acquainted to his suburb, the flat he was in, and I went, hey, why don't I shoot a documentary of you? And he was like, no, please don't do that. Like, he was embarrassed about his living conditions.
Well, he was producing music in his bedroom, wasn't he?
Yeah, and like if you look at his website and everything, it looks all slick, like it's official, right? So anyway, never mind that. One time I was out with, this is the first time I met his girlfriend, or ex-girlfriend. It's the same girl in his crowdfunding campaign. And I think he made a lot of promises to her that he couldn't just fulfill, right? Because when we sat down to lunch, Korean barbecue, right, in South Korea, she said to me straight off the bat, be careful, this guy is a liar. And I was like, what? I just flew all the way from Australia.
How much money did he raise in that crowdfunding campaign? Do you remember how much the total was?
From memory, it was between $13,000 or $16,000, and I was one of the first people to put $1,000 into that campaign, which really accelerated his campaign. So at the time, I was considered a very important person in this guy's crowdfunding campaign.
Yeah. Of course, because you feel like that you got let down when you got to Korea because he was supposed to do deliver certain things that he never did.
Well, I was prepared to give this guy the benefit of the doubt, right? I was like, it's probably his girlfriend being, bitchy. I don't know, what goes on in their personal relationship, right?
So basically, you were let down, and basically, it didn't come to fruition, all the stuff that he promised. So that's one way to get burned. But then you've also given money to some crowdfunding campaigns where it did succeed, where you got what you want. I mean, we're not talking about the space game, but did you give money to other campaigns? And you have, Jason Van Gennep, you've given money to 120 crowdfunding campaigns. You normally get your stuff, right? I mean, there's also a hope for this. It's also possible that people are good and they deliver what they're supposed to deliver, right?
Yeah, definitely. I sort of refer back to a comment that Jason made earlier about a lot of it's got to do with communication. I mean, most crowdfunding projects you tend to go over the deadline. There's no doubt about it. I think after having backed 120 plus, I can see that pretty much 90% of them never make the deliverable timeline. They're always exceeding that. But the difference here is the process of communication and the authenticity of the communication that the project creator uses to help keep you connected with the project and keep your dream alive with theirs. I think that's the big difference. Where projects start stalling and falling over is where the project creator just becomes a different person once they've been funded. They no longer need you as a backer or as a pledger. They've got your money. They're working through the throes of creating whatever they're creating. And then once they go past their promised deadline, then all the backers start commenting and posting and inquiring. They go slightly crazy because they're getting all this feedback from people who are saying, like, what's going on? Where's my product? Where's my service? Where's this?
Yeah.
And the tone of the conversation changes or it dies completely. And I think it just, some people are just, look, I think it's like everything. Some people are great business people. Some people are really poor business people. The crowdfunding platform doesn't really differentiate between the two. In fact, much the same as Jace's experience with someone, pretending to have this massive, great big flashy studio behind them, and he rocks over there and finds it's just a corner in a bedroom. It's exactly the same in any space we work in, and an online business environment is very good at presenting a professional opinion or a professional fascia, if you like, to potential customers. I mean, even here in the background, you probably think I'm sitting in a big studio. I'm just sitting in the corner of an office with a backdrop. Like I could be anywhere.
Same with green screens.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think it's really, yes, we know that there's usually delays on delivering pledge perks, if you like, but I think a lot of it's got to do with the style of communication and what that project creator communicates in their process with.
Actually, I think one of the most important things is the gravity of what you're asking, right? If you're going to go make a game or a feature film, right, is the $10,000, is that truly going to be enough to actually complete the project? Like, think about some advertising stuff. Let's say a Coca-Cola advertisement, right?
Yeah.
Think about it. There's music. There's what do you call it? Whatever rights they have to deal with. All the people involved in the production, they've got to pay them. There's so many layers to make some quality product that everyone will appreciate.
Absolutely. Just look at the credits at the end of the movie. Most people are like, what are all these people doing? I mean, there's just, the list just goes on and on. So, of course, there's a lot of people involved in behind the scenes, and it does take a while. And I think what both of you are saying is right, and especially what you say, Jason, is that people just, from a customer point of view, people see these backers, okay, they helped me to get to this level. I raised $20,000, $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, what it was. And then they move on, and they sort of forget about those backers. The problem is, this is your tribe. These are the people who are passionate about what you do. These are your ambassadors. These are the people who will go out and help you. These are the people who gave you money. They not only believe in you, but they also gave you money. And I think that one of the things the crowdfunding campaign, people who run a campaign should be learned is to be very grateful towards these people. Yes, you send them an email, and yes, you send them stuff they paid for, but it's a commitment because they ran a huge risk. And I think there's a lot of stuff in communication that they have to learn. And if they treat them nicely, they might even help them on their next product or the next crowdfunding campaign or whatever it is. For me, crowdfunding is, yes, it's about the money, but it's also about marketing. It's about creating a product that hasn't existed yet, but people can have a conversation about and say, yeah, do I want to be involved in this or don't want to be involved in this? Do I want to support this or don't I want to support this? And I think that it's very important for the crowdfunders that they learn how to communicate in an open, transparent, and honest way with their fans. And I think this is the key to an ongoing relationship, because normally when you have a product of any kind, book, ice cream, movie, music, whatever it might be, right? You're normally very far away from the customers, unless you have a shop. But if you have a shop, it's not typically your own product. You just sell someone else's product. And there you tend to focus on customer service or not. But customer service from a crowdfunding perspective, these are your tribe. These are the people who have bled for you. These are people who give you the last dollar. And you really got them excited getting in, but you got to keep them excited throughout. And if you have a mailing list of 100 people, 1,000 people, whoever might give you money, you really need to get them, updated and keep them excited what's going on. And that's a challenge. And most people are not very good at communicating. They just want to do their product, and that's a challenge. But that's the beauty of crowdfunding.
To me, I think it's like if you are going to launch a product or an invention or a service or something directly via crowdfunding, yes, you might be bypassing having a brand manager, having a marketing person, having a publicist, having all these people that you would ordinarily need to pay through a conventional way, getting a product or service. You need to be that person, and that's all of those roles fall on you, because that's going to be the difference between having a whole bunch of fans following you and your project all the way through to completion, and the difference between them being fans and all of a sudden flipping around and becoming victims of what you're peddling. And I think that's a nice play. Yeah.
Okay. So here on Blab, we can give hands to each other. I'm going to give you some hands. Here you go. And that means I like what you said. So it's a very... Oh, thank you. It's those people listening to this and not looking at what we do. There's a little corner button with hands, and you can clap and you can sort of give each other points. So if you like the point somebody's saying, and it makes it very visual. That's very interactive, and I like that. So that's pretty cool. I think you're actually spot on with that. It is having them fans, but keep not turning them into thank you very much, Jason. Not turning them into to victims. And people, if you have spent $4,000 on a space game and you can't play this game yet, or you spend $6,500 on a mood book and you haven't received it yet, and it's a year delayed, you go from being grateful and optimistic and excited to being, hey, what's going on? Somebody's taking my money, I haven't gotten my product. And you see that a lot on many crowdfunding campaigns. You can go in and read the comments on many of them afterwards, that people have to sort of forget they have to deliver because they're so excited creating that product. And suddenly comes the delivery, and from a filmmaking point of view, suddenly you'll learn how to wear a lot of hats. And that can be very confusing and can be very hard. And going back to what you were talking about, yeah.
I think people underestimate the amount of time involved as well. I think a lot of people, when they crowdfund, they're raising enough capital to cover costs of things and equipment and tools and processes and things like that, but they're not really covering the time or the time of people around them that are involved in the project.
Exactly.
And that then makes them lose the love. When the project finishes and they've got their funds and they're paying for the particular things they need to make what they need to make, they're forgetting the fact that this is actually costing them time as well, and that becomes a big stretch. It's like giving a child a birthday present a week and a half before their birthday. And then they'll love it. They love it all the same. But then come their birthday, they're still like going, yeah, what's my birthday today? Like it'd be really good to get something now. And I think it's the same with even as adults. When we are rewarded early for something that we've still yet to do, it takes a certain amount of generosity, and it takes a certain amount of conviction for that person to be able to maintain that vision the same way as the people that have backed them. That's. I think it's a real discipline, and I think it's something evidently lacking in a lot of people that work in this space, which is a real shame.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the classical marketing delivery. You need to under-promise and over-deliver. Don't over-promise and under-deliver. And that's how you turn people from fans to victims, or from victims to fans. You need to under-promise and over-deliver. And as I said, if you promise too much and you don't deliver, that's when people flip. And so that's a value proposition. That's a belief that you have to have core to you as a creator, as a business owner or marketing guy, whatever you do. You've got to have that in mind. Some businesses I've seen, when people sign up for something, suddenly they get a phone call from the guys behind, say, thank you so much. And they're not expecting that. Just give something beyond what the people were expecting. Give more of what you do, and people will get happy and excited about that. But
they'll contribute more.
What's that?
They'll even contribute more. That's the crazy bit.
That's because they already got, they like it. So I think what we can take away from today's lesson and what we're talking about is if you can give any advice to someone who is either going to give money to a crowdfunding campaign, someone running a crowdfunding campaign, it is to have in mind that you really gotta, keep your fans throughout. This is your tribe. This is the people who can support you, who can carry you on. These are people giving you money. They believe so much in you that they give you money before you deliver, before you even make things, whether it's a movie, book, music, theater play, ice cream, hats, whatever it is you're trying to crowdfund, potato salad, as we know someone did. So, that's really good. So, Creative's link and what was the other name? Sorry, I have to scroll back up. It was Funky Cerebro. If you're still listening, you are welcome to join. There's an open seat here if you want to come in and chat with us. If not, please stay listening if you want to. But just say that you are more than welcome to join us if you have something to contribute to our discussion. Because right now it's a little bit male-dominated, and I have a feeling that Creative's link and Funky Cerebro might be females, and I'm not trying to be sexist in any way. Just saying that we have two Jasons and one Thomas, so we get to get some other voices as well.
There's definitely a Jason overload on this podcast, that's for sure.
On your crowdfunding, Jason Van Genderen, that you're doing right now, you are about a week into the crowdfunding campaign. You're trying to raise $25,000, right? How much you raised so far?
We've gone.
Sorry, Chris. Like he wants to point out he is definitely male. I'm so sorry about that. I was just throwing something out there. I'm taking it back. I'm eating my words, and if you could see it, I'm trying to put my feet in my mouth, but I can't put my mouth out that way. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Well, good luck with the website design that you're doing. That's good.
Our project, Thomas, is 32% funded 1 week in. we've got just over $8,000 of our $25,000 goal, and we're ecstatic. I mean, we've had it's been a lot of hard work. I mean, there's probably a whole other podcast just in the amount of work that it takes to getting a launch like this over the line. But it's been so rewarding. I've just been so buoyed by people's enthusiasm, their belief in the vision for what this documentary needs to deliver, which is really an answer to people that are passionate about crowdfunding, and some security to the industry.
So what are you going to do in the crowdfunding campaign? You obviously, but you're trying to kind of go and find these guys, these mood bookmakers, and where are they based? In California or in New York? Where are they based?
Everywhere, all around the globe. A lot of them in the States. Obviously, Kickstarter and Indiegogo are based over in both East and West Coast of the States. So what we want to do with this is, I mean, we're as filmmakers, we're happy to pledge our time and our passion into the storytelling side of it, but we need to cover our hard costs such as flights and things like that. So we are actually going to jump in planes. We're going to eyeball not only the administration of these platforms and ask them the tough questions, but we're also going to track down, we're going to crowdsource a lot of the stories. So we're going to ask people to nominate project creators that they feel have failed them. And then we're going to forensically track down where they are. We've got a fantastic legal researcher that's joined our team just last night by the name of Josephine Gleason. We're going to find out where they are. We're going to hit them up. We're going to take the cameras to their homes, their workplace, wherever they are, and we're going to ask them the questions that they're hiding on their online profile. So it's not so much Michael Moore style, but this is, if you can think about it, we're going to try and do for, killer whales what Blackfish did for SeaWorld. Like we're trying to get some answers where people can't find answers currently, and aside from that, we're going to try and take those answers to some high places and get some changes to policy so we can all crowdfund with a little bit more assurance and a little bit more safety.
Because crowdfunding in the new sense is a very new thing, and so laws have not really been written yet. Legislation around the world, and certainly from a global perspective, have been in there. There is zero protection. Normally, when you are in whatever country is, there's some sort of the consumer protection law, some sort of ways where the government has something in place. But since you're dealing with something online and people are based around the world, it doesn't really matter. And I know we talked about this briefly early on, but there is no global legislation. There's no fair trade agreement. There's nothing in that because it's the Wild West right now. I mean, at least with the crowdfunding equity where people invest, there are certain specific rules for each country, and there's Security and Exchange Commissions in the US and similarly here in Australia and other parts of the world. So it's a little bit of Wild West. So I think it's great you're doing this documentary. I think it's an absolutely must-see, must-have, and hopefully this will change and make it better for everyone else trying to crowdfund, because it is a great opportunity. And then, as I said earlier, I've been part of 21 crowdfunding campaigns, and we raised almost $1 million, and that's some serious money. I mean, it's all primarily from first-time filmmakers who have not done a movie before. So 21 split out on $1 million is not that much when you count it up. But it's launching 21 filmmaking career, hopefully, that would not otherwise have had a voice. I don't think that some of them might have made it through the traditional funding system, whether there's a public one, whether there's private investors. Some of them probably would have done, but crowdfunding allows them to go out there and find an audience before they make the film and raise the money and get started on it. And I think that's the beautiful thing about crowdfunding.
I think from a validation point of view, I'm
a big believer in that it works, and then that there is possibilities, but there are also a lot of shortfalls, hence the good, the bad, and the ugly of the title of what we're talking about here. So there's a lot of stuff to think about if you're on either side of the crowdfunding campaign, but there's also a lot of hope. And for people who are creating stuff, this is a great way to get in contact. Where I've sort of spoken to both of you about this before, but let's talk about the Pebble Watch, right? I mean, the Pebble Watch, the first guys to invent the smartwatch, right? It was not Apple, and it was not Samsung. It was these guys called Pebble. And this guy, a bunch of guys, just made a prototype of it. And a traditional way of doing a prototype, you create it, then you go to some investors. It takes a long time to find investors, and when they finally give you money, they want half your company, because of course they put up a lot of money, and that's risky for them. So there you are, you lost 30%, 40%, 50%, 60%, maybe even 60% of your company. Then once you have that, then you have to go and create this watch somewhere. You have to find, the creator of the factory. Then you have to find distribution. You have to go and find logistics. You have to find how to sell in stores. And they take a cut, they take a fee, and some of them you have to charge money just to put shelf. I don't know if you're aware of this, but many shops now, the way they make money is not on the product. It's where they rent out their shelves, typically in supermarkets. That's how they make money. It's crazy. So there you are fighting to get your product out. You are 3 years down the line. You have zero money, and it's tough. Or you can make a prototype and say, look, everyone, this is my watch. This is what it will do. Pre-order it now, and I'll go out and make a bunch of them, and then I'll deliver it when it's done. And they raised $10 million, and this started the whole smartwatch industry that now Samsung and Apple and Motorola and every other electronic company on the planet. I saw the Tech Heuer, the big Swiss normal classical Swiss watchmaker, has now also made a smartwatch for, I think it was $1,500 to start. So a lot of them are doing it right now, and I'm not sold personally on it, but the idea is that this smartwatch movement would not have happened unless someone used it on Kickstarter. And I think that's absolutely amazing that it can happen, because if you get $10 million from people, you don't need an investor. All you need is a factory. And you don't even need shops or distribution, because you got everyone's email addresses. You got everyone's physical address. You just send the watch on time, please. You under-promise, you over-deliver, right? And everyone's happy. I
was one of those. I actually ordered one.
You ordered one? Are you still wearing it?
No, I'm not wearing it today, but it actually stopped working. My Pebble Watch stopped working, but I was one of their customers, their first customers.
Okay, well, there you go. How much was one watch? Was it $100, $150, $200?
Around that, yeah. It was a fair while ago now, because they released a color one since.
Yeah, and there's several updated versions since, and they go back to crowdfunding again. And they were successful, I think, the second time, and maybe the third time. I don't know if they're done the third time. I know they're definitely done the second time around. And that's pretty impressive that you can do that. So there's a lot of hope where if you are this genius guy or girl who has this great idea, instead of being, screwed over by someone who wants to control everything you do and take away your rights and your product, you can actually go directly to the consumers, to the market, and say, hey, I got this product. Should I spend a lot of my time making this so I can give it to you, or should I not? That's basically the question. You pitch it. In the film world, you pitch it. In any other world, you would go to a trade show, and there you go to the buyers and say, hey, do you want to buy it and sell it? But here you just go straight to the consumers, and that's what's so beautiful about crowdfunding in my mind. All right.
Actually, Charles, that opens up another interesting situation I've come across before, and Jason, I'm not sure if you have as well, but I've seen some campaigns where people have created a gadget, and they've gone crazy with interest on crowdfunding sites. They've been approaching their fully funded mark, clearly well within their space of time that they've allotted. And then all of a sudden they shut the campaign down because they've been bought out by a commercial interest who's just been hovering in the background. They see the uptake for the consumer interest in the technology, and so then they just basically sweep in, close the project, and buy it out. And everyone that's actually been helping them, bring them up to that state is just left to wash. You have to go back through now this other commercial operator to be able to buy this particular thing. Exactly. I think that shouldn't be allowed to happen. I think there should be some kind of other moral code that happens in a crowdfunding space that helps protect people from those instances as well.
Exactly. I think it's very important that people can go out there. So yeah, come join us on this call if you're listening on Facebook or on Twitter. I'm just sending out a tweet here. I'm just sending out on Facebook. That's what's amazing about this stuff, that people can join us. There you go. Actually recorded. I don't know what it was. So yeah, you guys can do the thing. If you want.
Do that. Oh yeah, here we go. Tall little birds.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, isn't it? You can also add your Facebook and all that stuff. It's this black thing. I'm very impressed by it. Again, it's the first time we're using it, and normally I'm just doing the Skype call, but this is a little more interactive, and it's great that we have people listening. And I appreciate that you guys are listening to this, and people can replay it afterwards. So any other final thoughts? Creative Link, do you have any questions, any concerns, anything you want to hear from a guy who has either run 21 crowdfunding campaigns, or someone who has given money to 122 crowdfunding campaigns, or someone who's been on either side? Do you have any questions you want to ask the three amigos here, the three idiots? Anything you want to say to this conversation?
What I was going to do is just make people aware too of the group I've got on Facebook for crowdfunding horror stories for anyone that's got an amnesty. If you want to share your story, share your pain, have a little group therapy, and potentially have your story told in the documentary as well. I'll just post that link on here now for anyone that's interested in crowdfunding horror stories.
Please feel free to post the link and people can go there. Absolutely. And also, why don't you link to your crowdfunding campaign that people can find if they wanted to go check out your crowdfunding campaign?
That would be another smart thing to do, wouldn't it? So I better do that.
It would be a very smart thing to do, exactly. And Jason, Lini, if you have something you want to put in there, you should.
Sorry, I was caught up with what should I put in?
Well, if you have a link to your site or your page or anything you want to share with people, you can do that.
Oh yeah. I'll just share my. Let me just get the link. Let's see.
That's okay. I can say people.
The Twitter link's on there anyway.
Yeah, I can say to people, this is the episode 6 of the Smart Film Income podcast. We're doing more podcasts in the future, and actually, I'm going to do one already in about an hour. It's going to be called The Art of Storytelling, and I think I'm going to do it here on Blab. And I'm interviewing a guy called Alan Palmer, who is an amazing guy who really understands the hero's journey and how to tell classical stories. So that's coming up in about an hour, and that's going to be episode 7. So very creative here at Smart Film Income. But if people want to sign up for my newsletter or my site or anything like that, they can go to smartfilmincome.com. People have our Facebook and our Twitter accounts because that's sort of live here. But if people are listening, Jason Van Ganneren, how does people listening on the podcast can't, of course, see the visual links here? What links should they go to? How should they find you on?
Oh, they probably just had a lot of clicks on the keyboard. So for people that want to find Kickstaller that are listening, you can find us on Facebook. Just look up Kickstaller, Staller. Yeah. Or else, if you want to check out the campaign, just jump on Kickstarter.com and look up Kickstaller under their film and video section, and you'll find we'll be buried in there somewhere, hidden away, but working very, very hard for everyone.
Exactly. And so go check out the crowdfunding horror stories on Facebook, or go check out the Kickstarter on Kickstarter. Kickstarter on Kickstarter. And you can find out more about the project. Jason, people want to follow you on Twitter, they can go to Liney Jason, Linney Jason, all in one word. And Jason Van Ganneren, if they want to follow you on Twitter, what is your tweet name?
My handle is Jason V. Genderen.
Jason V. Genderen, and the pronunciation of the spelling of Genderen is Genderen, Genderen. And we just had Veronica joined. Hey, Veronica, thank you. Welcome to our little talk. And what we're talking about today is crowdfunding on the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we've been on live for a while, and we've been talking about the good, the bad of crowdfunding. I've run 21 crowdfunding campaigns, helped raise almost $1 million. Both Jasons here have both contributed and been part of several crowdfunding campaigns. Some of them have been good, and some of them they've been burned on, where they did not get their stuff that they asked for, that they paid for. So that's what we're talking about. Have you done a crowdfunding campaign yourself, Veronica? Have you ever contributed, or have you ever thought that you wanted to run a crowdfunding campaign yourself? Okay, so again, people listening, they can't see here, but we can actually communicate. We can message. And this is why this is exciting using Blab. I think it's a great tool.
I think crowdfunding is going to get bigger. I mean, like, it's already a couple of $1 billion at the moment, right? Who's to say when it's going to be about $1 trillion, right? Because we're having, in Australia, right, some serious things falling apart. Metro Screen. What else is there? There's just recently Trop Fest. Jason Van Ganneren, I saw your films when I was at film school, and your film made it in Trop Fest. It was deep and meaningful and profound to me. I think it's amazing that I'm having this conversation with you, right? Just from that alone.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for your love.
Yes, Veronica, we're in Australia. That's why the funny accents. Where are you from, Veronica?
Awesome.
Just
like on TV.
No, I didn't know straight I can say. I think it's funny. Where are you based in the world of Veronica? Okay. In California. I used to live in California. I lived 6 years in LA, so that's why my accent's a little bit screwed up. No, it is true, and it is an amazing time to live in. So it's all good. It's all good, and I'm glad that you guys can meet each other on Jason and Jason. You don't have an accent. You don't have accent. Well, you would have an accent to us. If you speak, you would have an accent to us. So,
I just live here.
And certainly from someone from England, you have an accent. It is English from England, not from California. So there you go. All right, we were about to finish up, but then Veronica joined us, so we just stayed on for a couple more minutes. But anything else you want to say? Veronica, do you have any questions, concerns? Do you have anything you want to ask someone who's run 21 crowdfunding campaigns, someone who has contributed to 122 crowdfunding campaigns? Do you have any questions or concerns about crowdfunding? Do you know where it is? Not right now. Okay, well, there you go. Thank you so much. I'm gonna say thank you to everyone. Thank you to Jason and Jason for joining me here on episode 6. It's been absolutely a pleasure. I really enjoyed this blab. I think it's amazing. I hope to do more of these blabs because it's very interactive. And the problem with just doing a normal Skype podcast is it's just very two-way, and this is much more involved. And I hope the people listening to this or watching this as a replay or on YouTube or listening to it on iTunes or SoundCloud will come and join some of the future labs that I will do with future people on interview. It's been absolutely a pleasure. People want to find out more, go to smartfilmincome.com and follow me there. I got some courses on crowdfunding you can learn from, or you can also use me as a consultant. So I just want to finish that and say thank you to Jason and Jason, and it's been absolutely a pleasure. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, everyone.